President Joe Biden reversing a long-standing U.S. policy involving the war in Ukraine. Biden now going to allow Ukrainian forces to use long-range U.S. weapons inside of Russia for the very first time.
Yeah, this is a major change in American policy, and it comes at a critical point in the war in Ukraine as Russian forces mass in the city and around the city of Kursk as they prepare for an offensive there, and as North Korea has sent thousands of its troops to fight alongside Russia in that conflict. President Biden making this decision to allow Ukraine to fire the American ATACMS missiles inside Russia for the first time. And this had been the subject of a long-running debate inside the American government about the wisdom of allowing Ukraine this new capability. There were officials who were concerned about the risk of escalation in this war. That's something that President Biden has been concerned about throughout the conflict. You also heard officials worry about the stockpiles of ATACMS. These are not resources in endless supply. At the end of the day, the addition of the North Korean troops to this conflict certainly has created a new sense of concern in Washington about where this war could be headed. He also discussed it yesterday with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, trying to apply pressure on Beijing, to apply pressure on its largest, or on North Korea, which is China's largest trading partner, to try and convince Kim Jong-un that this was a mistake and that it could put his own troops at risk. But now this decision, I think, certainly for American officials, they do hope that it could help turn the tide in this conflict, but also send a signal to countries like North Korea that it sends its troops into this war at their own peril.
First off, explain what these missiles are all about, this Army Tactical Missile System, or sometimes referred to as ATACMS. Talk to me about what they are, their capability, and why this is a potential turning point.
Yeah, Frederica, the MGM-140A ATACMS, as you mentioned, the Army Tactical Missile System, has a range of around 180 to 190 miles. And what it can do is it can attack things like ammunition depots, troop concentrations, logistical centers, all of those kinds of things that could resupply a front line. So what the purpose of this is, from the Biden administration standpoint, is to actually make it possible for the Ukrainians to prevent the Russians and the North Koreans from attacking the Ukrainian concentrations in Kursk, which is the territory of Russia that Ukraine has occupied since August. So these missiles are designed to go in and to take out those kinds of things like those logistics installations that I described. And they're designed to do this in a very efficient, very lethal manner. And it's one of the most lethal weapons that the U.S. has in its arsenal. And I'm certain there is further guidance from the Biden administration to the Ukrainians on this. What they will probably say is that you can only attack those installations that are supplying the war effort against you in Ukraine or in Kursk in this particular instance. So the idea would be, Frederica, that they would go in and they would give them a list of targets that they can hit. The Ukrainians would perhaps provide a list of targets that they would like to hit, and then they would say, yes, you can use these weapons to hit those targets, or no, you can't hit those targets. One thing that would definitely be off the list would be nuclear installations or anything that would affect the strategic warfighting capability of Russia. That would most likely be off the list at this point in time.